The final day had arrived. After weeks of desperate battles, the Void Heralds had pushed deeper into the galaxy, consuming dozens of worlds. But the Allied forces had not been idle. The precursor weapon, the great ring structure built around a dead star, was complete. At the center of the ring, a special chamber had been constructed. Inside stood volunteers from every species, with humans serving as the primary conduits for the precursor technology. These volunteers understood they might not survive what was to come. Admiral Helena Chen stood among them. Her consciousness, linked to billions of other humans through the Unity, served as the central point of connection. Around her stood representatives from all major species. Rixian's crystal form glowed next to Zethval's four-eyed vigilance. The mathematical Tauron stood opposite the ancient Drin. Every form of consciousness in the galaxy was represented. Outside the ring, the Allied fleet prepared for their most important mission, to draw the heralds to this location. The weapon couldn't reach across the galaxy. The heralds had to come to them. Jin watched from a safe distance alongside Director Voss and the Wanderer. Though too young to join the Unity, Jin had insisted on being present. "Will it work?" she asked the Wanderer. The ancient being's form shifted in what might have been uncertainty. "The device is built correctly, but its power depends on those who operate it. The Weavers failed because we lacked what humans call heart." "And now?" Voss prompted. "Now we have balance," the Wanderer said. "Logic and emotion, individual and collective, past and future. If any combination can succeed, it is this one." On the bridge of the flagship Defender, First Officer Kakrai X had been promoted to captain after Zethval volunteered for the weapon chamber. She watched as scout ships reported the herald's approach. "They've taken the bait," she reported to the Alliance Command. "All heralds are converging on our position." The trap had worked. The Allied forces had deliberately leaked information about the weapon, knowing the heralds would move to destroy it. Now, hundreds of dark energy patterns swarmed toward them, hungry for the billions of minds gathered in one place. In the weapon chamber, Admiral Chen opened her eyes. Through the Unity, she felt every human mind focused on this moment. Through the chamber's special connections, she felt the volunteers from other species joining their consciousness to hers. "They're here," she said, her layered voice now containing echoes of all sentient life. "Begin the sequence." The Tauron started calculating the 11-dimensional equations needed to target the weapon correctly. The Vex linked their hive mind to the system, providing the processing power. The Drin added their ancient wisdom, ensuring that changes wouldn't have unforeseen consequences. Outside, the fleet engaged the first wave of heralds. Ships fired weapons designed during the past weeks, weapons that didn't try to destroy the heralds but to slow them, confuse them, make them doubt. In the safe observation area, Jin suddenly grabbed the console in front of her. "Something's wrong," she said. "The weapon's power levels are fluctuating, it's not stabilizing." The Wanderer moved closer to the viewport, its form becoming more solid as it focused. "The final key," it murmured. "We never discovered what it was." Jin looked at the readings, again, then at the massive ring structure. Understanding dawned on her young face. "It's not a thing," she said. "It's a decision." Without waiting for permission, she ran to the communication panel and opened a channel to the weapon chamber. "Maya," she called, searching for her sister among the billions of connected minds. "The weapon needs a choice. The precursors couldn't use it because they couldn't make the choice it requires." In the chamber, Maya, part of the Unity but still herself, heard her sister's voice. Through her connection to Admiral Chen, the message spread to all. "What choice?" Chen asked, her voice carrying to Jin. "The weapon doesn't just remake the heralds," Jin explained, the pieces falling into place in her mind. "It remakes everything it touches, including the ones who use it." The Wanderer nodded, its ancient memories finally unlocking. "Yes, we could not bring ourselves to change. We wanted to change others while remaining as we were. That was our failure." As the heralds broke through the outer defenses, moving inexorably toward the weapon, the volunteers in the chamber faced their moment of truth. To activate the weapon would mean accepting transformation not just for their enemy, but for themselves. We've spent centuries on the forums, talking about understanding each other, Chen said to the gathered representatives. Now we have a chance to truly do it. Not just to know each other's words, but to experience each other's reality. One by one, the volunteers nodded. This was why they had been chosen, because somewhere deep in their being, they had always wanted this connection. Choose change, Chen said simply, for them and for us. She activated the final sequence. The ring structure began to glow, drawing energy from the dead star at its center. Light pulsed along pathways built according to the precursor design. In the chamber, the volunteers felt their consciousness expanding, touching each other in ways no forum could ever allow. When the weapon fired, it wasn't a beam or an explosion. It was a wave of pure understanding that spread outward at the speed of thought. It engulfed the heralds first, forcing beings of pure consumption to experience something they had never known: empathy. For the first time, the heralds felt the lives they had taken. They experienced the joy, pain, love, fear, hope, and dreams of every consciousness they had consumed. For beings that had only taken and never given, it was overwhelming. Many heralds couldn't survive the transformation. Their dark energy patterns dissolved, releasing the billions of minds they had absorbed. Others fled to the void between galaxies, their nature fundamentally changed by what they had experienced. But a few, a precious few, remained. Changed. Transformed. No longer consumers but participants in the great dance of consciousness. The wave continued outward, touching every world in the galaxy. No one remained untouched. Not every mind was joined permanently. That would have destroyed the diversity that made the galaxy special. But every mind now carried an echo of all others, a deep understanding that no forum could ever provide. When it was over, Jin rushed to the weapon chamber. She found her sister Maya standing alone, separated from the unity but somehow more complete than before. "Did we win?" Jin asked, hugging her tightly. Maya smiled. "I'm not sure winning is the right word anymore, but we survived, we changed. And so did they." In the months that followed, the galaxy rebuilt. The forums were re-established, but they were no longer the center of interspecies relations. Real collaboration, messy, direct, sometimes contentious but always genuine, became the new foundation of galactic society. The humans returned to their worlds, no longer the newcomers, but now recognized as the salvation of all sentient life. They had abandoned the forums not to retreat from the galaxy, but to save it, teaching the other species that sometimes action speaks louder than words. And in the quantum connections that now linked all worlds, echoes of the precursor message could still be detected, no longer a warning but a promise. Unity is not agreement, unity is purpose. The end. Morning came to the galactic hub, but few had slept. Council historian Liar Tennell moved quickly through the crowded hallways. Reports of riots had come from 12 core worlds overnight. People were scared after hearing that human protection systems would soon fail. Liar Tennell was different from most council members. Her species, the archivists, valued knowledge above all else. While others had dismissed humans as primitive, she had studied them carefully. Now everyone wanted answers that only she might have. The emergency committee waited in a small room away from the main chamber. 10 senior representatives sat around a table, faces grim. Supreme Counselor Zell Thorne nodded to Liar Tennell as she entered. "Show us what you found," he said simply. Liar Tennell activated her data tablet. Images appeared on the wall screen. Records of human interactions with the Council over 30 years. The pattern was always there, she explained. Humans advance differently than any species we've encountered before. When we face problems, we look for solutions in our past. Humans look for answers no one has found yet. She showed a recording from 20 years earlier. A human woman stood before the council, explaining a new shield technology that could protect planets from radiation storms. The council members in the recording laughed at her. "Impossible," one said. Your calculations violate basic laws of physics. The human woman had smiled patiently. Perhaps your laws need updating. Lieutenant stopped the recording. We rejected their shield proposal as impossible. 3 months later, radiation storms hit the outer colonies, just as humans predicted. Many would have died, but mysteriously, the storms caused no damage. She showed images from colony outpost Sigma 9, a small settlement on a distant moon. A massive energy wave approached in the recording. Just before impact, a shield activated around the colony. The wave hit and dissipated harmlessly. Humans built and installed these shields in secret, Lieutenant said. Not just there, on dozens of worlds. The committee shifted uncomfortably. Ambassador Vril spoke first. They violated our laws. Technology must be approved. To save lives, interrupted Talia Zek, the young Mindari representative. Lives the council was willing to sacrifice. Lieutenant nodded. And that's just one example. When humans offered new propulsion systems, we denied testing permits because the technology seemed impossible. When they warned about quantum anomalies approaching our space, we ignored them because our sensors detected nothing. She displayed a map showing thousands of human devices spread across council space. Green dots marked active systems. Yellow showed those beginning to fail, and red indicated complete failure. 3 systems have already failed since the humans left, she reported. Without maintenance, all will fail within 30 days. Representative Gorks slammed his stone fist on the table. Can't we fix them ourselves? Surely our scientists can understand human technology. Lieutenant shook her head. We've tried. Their machines operate on principles we don't understand. It's as if humans see connections between forces that we cannot perceive. The room fell silent. Outside, the first rays of the system's sun cast long shadows through the windows. In the distance, ships rushed between planets as people sought safety from the coming failures. There's more, Lieutenant said quietly. She played a new recording, a conversation between 2 human scientists they had never seen before. The humans discussed something they called the Harbingers, cosmic events converging on council space. This was found in their secret archives, she explained. The humans believed 3 major cosmic events will hit our region within 5 years. Events that could destroy technological civilizations. All their work, the shields, the stabilizers, the quantum buffers, were preparing us for these events. Supreme Counselor Zell Thorne looked older than he had the day before. Why didn't they just tell us clearly? They did, Lieutenant replied. She played clip after clip of humans warning the council, offering help, being rejected. We weren't listening. A messenger burst into the room. Urgent news. Colony Helios 4 reports their shield system is failing. Radiation levels are rising. On the screen, the dot representing Helios 4 turned from yellow to red. Population, 6 million. How long until the radiation reaches deadly levels? Asked Zelthorn. 3 days. The messenger replied. Without the shield, the colony must evacuate. But the nearest evacuation fleet is 5 days away. Talia Zek stood suddenly. We need to find humans who stayed behind. There must be some who didn't join the exodus. Unlikely, said Ambassador Vril. They're very loyal to each other. As the committee argued, Lear Tennell noticed something on her data tablet. A small signal, coming from an unregistered ship near the outer defense perimeter. The signal pattern matched human communication protocols. She slipped away from the meeting and hurried to her private office. Using her historian's access codes, she bypassed security and sent a message to the unknown ship. This is Council Historian Lear Tennell. If there are humans aboard, please respond. We need your help. For long minutes, there was no answer. Then, just as she was about to give up, the screen lit up. A human face appeared, a woman with dark skin and determined eyes. This is Dr. Maya Chen of Earth. I stayed behind when the others left. Lear Tennell felt hope for the first time in days. The protection systems are failing. People will die. The human woman nodded slowly. That's why I'm here. But things have changed. The council rejected us as equals for too long. I won't help unless the terms are different this time. What terms? Lear asked. No more treating us like children. No more dismissing our ideas. Because they don't fit your understanding. Equal status for humanity or I leave like the others. Lear thought of the millions on Helios 4, facing death in 3 days. Of the billions more who would follow as other systems failed. Of the greater dangers that the humans had foreseen. I cannot speak for the council, she said carefully, but I will take you to them. Will you come? On the screen, Dr. Chen seemed to consider. Behind her, Lear could see complex equipment, human technology ready to help or leave forever. I'll come, the human finally said. But I make no promises beyond that. The council has much to prove. As Lear hurried to arrange secure docking for the human ship, warnings flashed across her tablet. 2 more protection systems had failed. The countdown was accelerating. 28 days remaining had suddenly become much less. Dr. Maya Chen's shuttle docked at the council station amid tight security. No human had set foot in the central hub since the exodus began 3 days ago. Guards with nervous fingers on their weapons lined the corridors as Lear led the human visitor toward the emergency committee. Dr. Chen walked confidently despite being surrounded by aliens who towered over her. She carried a single small bag that hummed softly with unknown technology. Her face showed no fear, only determination. They're waiting for you, Lear said as they approached the meeting room. Many are angry, some are afraid. And you? Dr. Chen asked. I'm curious, the historian replied honestly. I always wanted to understand humans better. They entered the room to immediate silence. 12 council members stared at the human with expressions ranging from hope to suspicion. Supreme Counselor Zelthorn stood. Dr. Chen, thank you for coming. Chen placed her bag on the table. I'm not here for thanks. I'm here because people are in danger. She activated a small device from her bag. A holographic display appeared above the table showing the colony on Helios 4. The shield is failing faster than expected, she explained. You now have 36 hours before radiation reaches deadly levels. Ambassador Vrill's legs twitched nervously. How can we trust you? Your people abandoned us. After 30 years of being ignored and dismissed, Chen replied calmly. Would you have stayed? Before an argument could begin, alarms sounded throughout the station. A communication officer rushed in. 2 more protection systems have failed. Planets Curies and Valen 3 report equipment shutdowns. The room erupted in panic. More alarms joined the first. On Dr. Chen's holographic display, red warning signs multiplied across the galaxy map. What's happening? Demanded Zelthorn. The timeline was 30 days. Dr. Chen studied the data with a frown. The systems are linked. When one fails completely, it creates a cascade effect. Your scientists' attempts to study them have accelerated the process. She looked up at the council. You have less time than we thought. In the science wing of the station, hundreds of the best minds in the galaxy worked frantically to understand human technology. They had collected devices from 20 nearby worlds, taking them apart piece by piece. Nothing made sense. Admiral Kraz, head of council security, entered the emergency room with fresh reports. His scaled face looked grim. We've confirmed the human fleet hasn't simply left our region, he announced. Our long-range sensors detected something impossible. They've developed some form of extra-dimensional travel. They're not just leaving council space, they're leaving our universe entirely. The revelation stunned the room into silence. Dimensional theory had been discussed for thousands of years, but practical application was considered impossible by all known science. Dr. Chen nodded quietly. Project Doorway. It was our backup plan if the council couldn't be convinced to prepare for what's coming. What exactly is coming? Asked Talia Zek, the young Mindari representative. Before Chen could answer, Dr. Elgin burst into the room. The blue-skinned scientist was one of the few non-humans who had studied directly under human teachers. She carried a broken device, part of a shield generator. I've made a breakthrough, she announced excitedly. I think I understand why we couldn't comprehend human technology. She placed the device on the table. We've been trying to find a single unified theory behind their inventions. That's why we failed. Each human device uses completely different scientific principles. What looks like technological inconsistency is actually creativity. Dr. Chen smiled for the first time. Exactly. We don't follow established rules because we never accepted limitations in the first place. Dr. Elgin continued. This shield generator uses quantum principles that conflict with the propulsion system of human ships. By your science, they cannot both be correct, yet they both work. The council members looked confused. Ambassador Vril shook her head. That makes no sense. Science must be consistent. Your science, corrected Dr. Chen. Humans approach problems differently. When faced with an impossible situation, we try everything until something works. We don't care if the solution breaks the rules. Lear Tennell suddenly understood. That's why we could never predict what humans would do next. You don't think like us. A new alarm sounded. On the main screen, long-range sensors showed massive energy readings at the edge of known space. The human fleet had gathered at a single point and was generating power on a scale never before recorded. They're preparing for the dimensional jump, Dr. Chen explained. Once they go, they can never return. Zelthorn turned to her. But you stayed. Why? Chen looked at each council member slowly. Because someone needed to explain what you're facing. And because, despite everything, some of us still believed you deserve a chance. She activated another hologram showing 3 massive energy disturbances moving toward council space. We call them harbingers. They are drawn to technological civilizations. The first will arrive in less than 5 years. The images showed planets being torn apart by invisible forces, stars flickering and dying, entire systems warping in impossible ways. This is what destroyed the civilizations that came before yours, Chen continued. It's what my people have been preparing for. All our technology, the shields, the stabilizers, everything we built in secret, they're pieces of a larger protection network. Parts of a whole that will never be completed now. The room fell silent as the council finally understood. Humans hadn't been acting out of defiance or arrogance. They had been racing against time to save everyone. Help us, Zelthorn said simply. Tell us what to do. Dr. Chen's expression hardened. It's not that simple. My people offered help for decades while you treated us like children. I can't just give you our knowledge, you wouldn't understand it anyway. Then what? Asked Lear Tennell. A new agreement, Chen replied. Equal status for humans. No more hierarchies based on how long a species has been spacefaring. Knowledge shared freely among all worlds. Ambassador Vril rose in outrage. Impossible. The Council's structure has stood for 50,000 years, and it will fall in less than 5 if you don't change, Chen said firmly. The old ways won't save you from what's coming. As they argued, a technician rushed in with an urgent message. The human fleet is accelerating their preparations. Energy readings are off the charts. On the screen, the gathered human ships glowed with strange light as they prepared to leave reality itself behind. A timer appeared on Dr. Chen's hologram, 72 hours until dimensional breach. 3 days, she said quietly. That's how long you have to decide. Accept our terms and I contact the fleet to send teachers. Refuse, and they leave forever, taking with them the only knowledge that might save you. Around the table, council members looked at each other in silence as the alarms continued to sound throughout the station. The council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 500 member species packed the room, with thousands more watching through holographic connections. The fate of the galaxy would be decided today. Supreme Counselor, Zelthorn stood at the center, looking older than he had a week ago. Beside him stood Dr. Maya Chen, the lone human who had stayed behind. The contrast between them was striking. The tall, 4-armed alien with blue skin next to the small human woman in simple clothes. We face the greatest crisis in our history, Zelthorn began. For those who haven't heard, let me explain clearly. The humans were right all along. Dangerous cosmic events are approaching our galaxy. Without their help, billions will die. Murmurs spread through the crowd. On the large screens around the chamber, images showed failed protection systems across 20 worlds. Evacuation ships were already overwhelmed. Dr. Chen has made an offer, Zelthorn continued. The human fleet will send 1,000 volunteers to maintain critical systems and teach our scientists, but only if we change our ways. Ambassador Vril pushed her way to the front. This is blackmail. They threaten us with destruction unless we bow to their demands. Dr. Chen remained calm as she addressed the crowd. This is not a threat, it's reality. The Harbingers are coming whether you believe us or not. We offered help for decades while you mocked us. Now time has nearly run out. She activated a holographic display showing the 3 cosmic disturbances, the Harbingers, moving steadily toward Council space. Data scrolled alongside the images showing calculations and predictions. What exactly are these Harbingers? Asked Talia Zek, the young Mindari representative. We don't fully understand them, Chen admitted. They appear to be living cosmic events, space itself somehow gaining consciousness and hunger. They feed on technological energy. The more advanced a civilization, the more they're drawn to it. The chamber fell silent. Chen continued. They've come before. The ancient ruins your archaeologists found on dead worlds, those weren't destroyed by wars or natural disasters. They were feeding grounds. Laertenal, the council historian, stepped forward. Our oldest records mention galaxy eaters that came from beyond the stars. We thought they were myths. Not myths, Chen said. Just forgotten history. Each cycle takes thousands of years. On another screen, the human fleet continued preparations for their dimensional jump. The countdown showed 48 hours remaining. Xelthorn raised his hands for quiet. Dr. Chen asks that we remake the council. No more treating younger species as inferior. Knowledge shared freely among all. Equal voice for all sentient beings regardless of their technological development. Outrage erupted from the oldest council members. The Arachnid Collective, the Stone Minds, and the Stellar Elders had ruled the council for millennia. They would not give up their power easily. Impossible, shouted Representative Gorks. Our ancestors built this council. We earned our place. Through thousands of years of progress. Dr. Chen shook her head. And yet you couldn't see what humans discovered in just 3 centuries. Age doesn't equal wisdom if you stop learning. Arguments filled the chamber as species took sides. The debate grew heated. Some demanded humans be forced to help, others called for embracing the changes. The division seemed too great to overcome. As chaos threatened to overtake the meeting, a small alarm sounded from Dr. Chen's equipment. She checked it with growing concern. The first shield harmonics are destabilizing, she announced. Helios 4 has 18 hours, not 36 as we thought. 6 million people need evacuation immediately. Admiral Kraz, head of Council Security, stepped forward. Our fastest ships can reach them in 22 hours. It's not enough time. The room fell, silent again as the reality sank in. People would die today. Many more would follow tomorrow. The Council's inability to decide would cost lives. Dr. Chen touched her communication device. This is Chen to Earth Fleet Command. Request emergency response team to Helios 4. 6 million lives at risk. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, at the edge of the system, 3 human ships appeared suddenly. They had remained hidden, waiting. They were already moving at impossible speeds toward the endangered colony. What are they doing? Zelthorn asked. What we've always done, Chen replied simply. Helping when we can, regardless of politics. On the screens, the human ships reached Helios 4 in minutes rather than hours, using drive technology the Council had deemed impossible. They deployed emergency shield generators stabilizing the failing systems. Our ships will hold the shields for 48 hours, Chen explained. Enough time for evacuation if you start now. Admiral Kraz immediately began organizing the evacuation fleet. The room watched in stunned silence as humans once again saved lives while the Council argued. An elder representative of the Quantum Archives stepped forward. The ancient being had observed council meetings for thousands of years without speaking. That they chose to speak now silenced everyone. I have watched civilizations rise and fall for longer than this council has existed, the elder said, voice like rustling leaves. I have seen the cycle repeat. Those who cling to power and old ways always fall first. The elder turned to Dr. Chen. These harbingers? Humans believe they can be stopped? Chen nodded. Not easily, but yes. Our scientists developed theories, built prototypes. With more time and resources, we believe complete protection is possible. Then why leave? Asked Liartenal. Why abandon this universe? Because we couldn't build what was needed alone, Chen answered. We needed allies who would listen, who would contribute equally. The Council refused to be those allies. So we found another solution, a new universe where we could start fresh. The elder from the quantum archives moved to the center of the EO chamber and raised all four hands. I propose we vote now. The old council structure ends today, a new beginning with all voices heard equally, or the end of all we know when the harbingers arrive. Supreme Counselor Zell Thorne looked around the room. Those in favor of accepting the human terms, a new council with equal standing for all species, hands, tentacles, and various appendages raised slowly around the room. Many of the oldest species refused, their representatives turning away in anger. But as the count continued, it became clear. A majority favored change. The motion passes, Zell Thorne announced. The old council structure is dissolved. A new governing body will form with equal representation for all. Dr. Chen smiled slightly and touched her communicator again. Chen to Fleet Command. The Council has agreed to our terms. Request teaching volunteers and technical teams. The response came immediately. Understood, Chen. First wave preparing to return. Dimensional jump postponed. On the main screen, the countdown paused at 36 hours, 42 minutes. Several ships broke away from the human fleet and turned back toward Council space. Hope filled the chamber as the news spread. The humans would help them face the coming threat. But Liartenal noticed something troubling. Most of the human fleet remained in position, still preparing for their jump. They're not all returning, she whispered to Chen. Why? Dr. Chen's expression turned serious. Insurance. If the Council breaks its word again, we still leave. There are other universes waiting. This is your last chance. As representatives, celebrated around them, Selthorn and Chen shook hands, sealing the agreement that would reshape the galaxy if there was still time to save it. 3 days after the historic vote, the Council hub buzzed with activity unlike anything seen in its 50,000-year history. Human teachers had arrived and immediately started work. They moved quickly through the station, setting up equipment, organizing classes, and preparing for the enormous task ahead. In what was once the private chamber of the Supreme Counselor, Dr. Maya Chen met with the newly formed Emergency Response Committee. The old titles and hierarchies were gone. Now representatives from 30 different species, young and old, technologically advanced and simpler, worked together as equals. The evacuation of Helios 4 is complete, reported Admiral Kraz. 6 million people saved, thanks to your ships. Chen nodded. Good, but that's just one crisis averted. We need to focus on the bigger picture. She activated the central hologram showing the galaxy. Red dots marked failing protection systems, while blue highlighted working ones. Yellow showed where human technical teams were currently making repairs. We've stabilized 43 systems in the past 3 days, Chen explained. But over 3,000 remain at risk, and that's just dealing with immediate problems, not preparing for the harbingers. Lear Tennell, now coordinator of historical knowledge, studied the map. How do we prioritize? We can't save everything at once. We don't try to, Chen replied. We teach you to save yourselves. In the main docking bay, the first wave of human teachers gathered. 1,000 volunteers who had turned back from the EI dimensional jump to help a civilization that had rejected them for decades. They carried tools and equipment that seemed impossible by Council standards. Dr. Elgin led the first teaching session in what had once been the Council's private science facility. 200 of the galaxy's brightest minds gathered to learn, including species that had never before been allowed in these halls. The problem with your approach to science, Dr. Elgin explained, is that you believe there's only one right answer to any question. She held up two devices, both human-made shield generators that operated on completely different principles. Humans believe in trying everything, she continued. When faced with an impossible problem, we create dozens of solutions. Some fail, some work, but are messy. Some break all the rules you thought couldn't be broken. We keep what works, regardless of whether it fits neatly into existing theories. The scientists watched in amazement as she activated both devices simultaneously. By all known council physics, they should have interfered with each other catastrophically. Instead, they worked together perfectly, creating a shield stronger than either could produce alone. Impossible, whispered an elder scientist of the stellar minds. Only if you believe it is, Dr. Elgin replied with a smile. Meanwhile, on the observation deck, Talia Zek stood with another human teacher named James. The young Mindari representative had been one of the first to support change. I still don't understand why most of your fleet remains at the dimensional jump point, she said, watching distant stars where the human ships waited. Don't you trust our agreement? James looked at her thoughtfully. Trust is earned slowly and lost quickly. The Council broke faith with humanity many times. But we're changing, Talia insisted. Yes, James agreed. And when those changes become consistent actions, rather than just words, more humans will return. He pointed to a console, showing transmissions between human ships and the station. Already 200 more volunteers have requested permission to join the teaching mission. That's a good sign. In the new Central Command, Supreme Counselor Zell Thorne, now simply Coordinator Zell Thorne, worked with human engineers to redesign the hub's communication systems. For the first time in his long life, he found himself learning from beings he had once considered primitive. Your technology is unlike anything I've seen, he admitted to the human engineer beside him. How did you develop it so quickly? Engineer Sarah smiled as she calibrated a quantum transmitter. Necessity and curiosity. We're impatient by nature. When we can't find an answer, we create one. And when you're wrong? Zellthorne asked. We admit it and try something else, Sarah replied simply. Being wrong is just part of learning. This concept, embracing failure as a step toward success, was revolutionary to the council races who had built their civilization on slow, careful progress. As the first week under the new agreement neared its end, Dr. Chen called a meeting of all representatives. The largest chamber in the hub was filled to capacity. We have good news and challenging news, she began. The good. We've stabilized 97 protection systems, and evacuation plans are in place for another 300 worlds if needed. The crowd murmured with relief. Chen continued. The challenging news. Our calculations about the harbingers were too conservative. The first isn't 5 years away, it's less than 3. Screens around the room showed new data. The cosmic anomaly was moving faster than predicted, drawn to the concentrated technology of council space. Can we stop it? Asked a representative from a small outer colony. Not yet, Chen admitted. But we're working on something new, something that wouldn't have been possible without combining human creativity with council resources. She revealed plans for massive shield generators to be built at strategic points throughout the galaxy. Unlike the small systems humans had, secretly installed, these would work together as a network, creating overlapping fields of protection. The design combines our understanding of dimensional physics with your mastery of large-scale engineering, Chen explained. Neither of us could build this alone. For the first time, many council members truly understood what working as equals meant. It wasn't just about fairness, it was about survival through combined strengths. After the meeting, Chen walked alone to a quiet viewing area. From here, she could see Earth's sun, a tiny point of light among billions. Most of humanity had left that system behind, ready to start fresh in another universe. Would they ever return completely? Lyre Tennel found her there, watching the stars. You knew this would happen, the historian said. You planned for the council to reject humans until a crisis forced change. Chen smiled sadly. Not planned, prepared, for there's a difference. She turned to face Lear Tennell. We tried honest cooperation for decades. When that failed, we created backup plans. And the dimensional technology? Was that just another backup plan? The greatest one, Chen admitted. A door to a new universe if this one couldn't be saved. She looked back at the stars. It still might be necessary. The Harbingers are just the first challenge. There will be others. Lear Tennell considered this. More humans are returning each day. The teaching goes well. Perhaps your fleet will never need to leave. Perhaps, Chen agreed. That would be my preference. But it depends on whether the council truly embraces change or slips back into old habits once the immediate danger passes. On her communication device, Chen received a new message from Fleet Command. After reading it, she smiled genuinely for the first time in days. Good news? Asked Lear Tennell. The best kind, Chen replied. 500 more teachers are coming, and they're bringing the plans for the dimensional gateway technology. They would share even that with us? Lear Tennell was astonished. Chen nodded. True allies hold nothing back from each other. She looked toward Earth's distant sun once more. Perhaps there's hope for this universe after all. As they watched, a new star seemed to appear, a human ship arriving, bringing more knowledge, more help, more possibilities for the future. Behind it, more lights flickered into existence as others followed. The tide was turning. Humanity was coming home. 1 year had passed since the Great Change. The Council Hub, once a symbol of ancient hierarchy, had transformed completely. The circular chamber where supreme councilors had once ruled now hosted representatives from all species sitting as equals. At the center stood a round table with 500 seats, one for each member world regardless of age or technology. Today marked the signing of the Galactic Unity Accord, the formal document that would replace 50,000 years of council tradition. Dr. Maya Chen sat beside Coordinator Zelthorn as they prepared for the historic moment. Did you ever imagine we would reach this day? Zelthorn asked quietly. Chen smiled. We hoped. That's what humans do. We hope even when logic says otherwise. The chamber filled as representatives took their places. Some of the oldest species had initially refused to participate in the new system, clinging to their ancient privileges. But as human technology proved vital against the approaching threats, most had gradually returned. Talia Zek, now leading the communication division, approached with the latest reports. The shield network is at 60% completion, she announced proudly. The first 3 hubs are fully operational. On the main display, a map showed the massive shield generators positioned throughout the galaxy. Built through the combined efforts of all member worlds, they formed an interconnected web of protection that would soon cover all inhabited systems. And the Harbinger? Chen asked. Still approaching, but our new sensors can track it properly now. Talia activated a different display showing the cosmic anomaly. We estimate 14 months until first contact with our outer shield. The room grew quiet as everyone contemplated this timeline. 14 months to complete their preparations against a threat that had destroyed countless civilizations before them. James, the human teacher who had become Talia's close friend, joined them with more news. The dimensional gateway prototype is ready for testing. If it works, we'll have an emergency evacuation option for vulnerable worlds. This technology, once humanity's secret escape plan, was now being developed openly as a joint project. If the shields failed, the gateways would allow billions to escape to safety in another universe. Lear Tennell hurried into the chamber, carrying an ancient data crystal. The historian's eyes were wide with excitement. We found something, she announced. In the deepest archives of the quantum records, evidence that the Harbingers have been here before 10 million years ago. She inserted the crystal into the central console. Images appeared showing ancient star charts and strange symbols. And they were defeated. The room erupted in surprised conversation. Chen studied the images carefully. How? By whom? A coalition of species working together, Tennell explained. They built something similar to our shield network, but they added something else, a resonance field that disrupted the Harbinger's consciousness. For the first time, real hope spread through the chamber. Not just survival, but victory might be possible. As the formal session began, Chen took a moment to look around the room. Humans now walked freely among species that had once dismissed them. Knowledge flowed in all directions. Council races teaching humans their ancient wisdom, while humans shared their innovative approaches. Admiral Kraz approached with a datapad. "The fleet has news," he said quietly to Chen. She read the message and her face broke into a wide smile. "Tell them yes, immediately." On the main screen, a notification appeared showing activity at the dimensional jump point where the majority of human ships had waited for a year. The fleet was moving, but not jumping to another universe. They were returning to Council space. "All of them?" Zelthorn asked in amazement. "All," Chen confirmed. The vote was unanimous. Humanity is staying to face the Harbingers alongside our new allies. As the signing ceremony began, representatives from all worlds approached the central table one by one. Each placed their hand, claw, tentacle, or appendage on the document, formally accepting the new galactic order based on cooperation rather than domination. When all had signed, Coordinator Zelthorn and Dr. Chen stepped forward together. 1 year ago, Zelthorn began, we stood on the edge of disaster. Humanity was leaving, taking with them knowledge we desperately needed. Our protection systems were failing. Ancient threats were approaching. We faced extinction because we refused to see others as equals. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of hundreds of different species. Today we begin again, not as rulers and subjects, not as ancient and young, but as equals with shared purpose. Chen took her turn to speak. Humans almost left this universe behind. We had given up on finding true partners here. She smiled at the gathered representatives. We were wrong to lose hope, and you were wrong to dismiss us. Together we have found a better way forward. On the displays around the chamber, the human fleet appeared, thousands of ships returning from the dimensional jump point. They moved into formation around the shield generators, taking up defensive positions. Humanity had committed fully to this universe and its protection. The Harbinger still comes, Chen continued. We face dangers none of us could overcome alone, but together we have already accomplished the impossible. We have broken 50,000 years of tradition and built something better. As if responding to her words, alarms sounded throughout the hub. The Harbinger had accelerated unexpectedly. New calculations appeared on the screens. 8 months, Talia announced as she checked the data. Not 14. It's moving faster as it senses our technology. Fear flashed through the chamber, but it was quickly replaced by determination. One by one, representatives stood from their seats, facing the threat together. So we work faster, Chen said firmly. We finished the shield network in 7 months instead of 12. We learn from the ancients who defeated the Harbingers before. We stand together. Zelthorn looked at her with new understanding. This is why humans progress so quickly. You never accept limitations. We don't have that luxury, Chen replied. Life is too short to waste time on impossible. As the ceremony concluded, representatives moved quickly to their tasks. The signing was no longer just a symbolic moment, but the beginning of their greatest challenge. Ships departed in all directions, carrying volunteers, equipment, and hope to every corner of the galaxy. On the observation deck later that night, Chen stood with Tennell and Zelthorn watching the stars. The returning human fleet filled the sky with lights as they moved into defensive positions. It's strange, Tennell said. For so long the Council feared change. We thought our strength came from maintaining traditions, but our greatest strength came when we finally embraced the new. Chen nodded. That's the lesson humans learned early in our history. Adapt or perish. Change isn't something to fear. It's necessary for survival. Zelthorn looked toward the distant point of light that was Earth's sun. We almost lost everything because we couldn't recognize the value in difference. But you learned, Chen replied. Just in time. On the horizon, the first light of the system's sun began to rise, casting golden light across the hub. A new day for a new galaxy, united at last. The harbinger was coming, faster than expected, but for the first time in countless ages, the civilizations of the galaxy would face the threat as one. Together they had a chance. That was all humanity had ever asked for.